Welcome back everyone. In this video I'll be sharing with you everything I know about percussion, from the 2 essential skills that all guitarists should know to then more advanced complicated skills that you can learn as you progress. And as usual, along the way I'll be giving you a detailed breakdown of these skills along with drills and exercises to help you get them down. Without further ado, let's get to it. So to get straight into the first essential guitar percussion technique that you should learn, I introduce you to the slap. And in its essence, the slap, you're basically knocking the thicker strings, so the 6th or the 5th, into the metal frets of the guitar, giving it a nice click as they hit, like this. I know, advanced stuff. But essentially, if you can put a slap into your arrangements, it's super versatile, so it fits in most occasions, unless it's a very gentle and slow song. But mostly, if you just add a slap, it gives a bit of rhythm to the song and adds interest. So in order to perform the slap, you're going to take your wrist and just rotate it. Just rotate it so that your thumb makes contact and hits the strings into the frets. And what's really important here is that you don't just bring it straight down. You can at the start, but if you want to progress the slap into more advanced versions where you're playing notes at the same time, it's going to be much harder if you're just bringing it down flat. So what's important is that you rotate the wrist. So I'll just show you at this angle so you can see. You can even look at your palm. I think that's a good cue to look at the palm, and then don't look at the palm. So look at it and then turn it away and look at your knuckle or something. So look at the palm and then just plop the thumb and bring it down onto the strings. And also a good cue you can do here, because with the slap it's really important to just be relaxed. And I know when you're a beginner, it might be your instincts to slap it hard and try and brute force your way into it. But really, you just need to relax and let the hand fall onto the guitar. So what you can do is just practice this by having your guitar like on your lap, and just drop your hand onto it. And just get that idea of the relaxedness of the skill. And again, it's just super important to keep your whole hand and your fingers relaxed throughout the movement. You can have your fingers, so looking at the fingers, you can have them straight like that, but I think it's good to just have them relaxed, just like that, and that will help later on when you add fingers in, because you will be slapping whilst you're playing, so you can't play with straight hands, you need your fingers like that. So a good drill to start learning the slap and get it in your muscle memory is to just focus on one string and get a bass line. So like something, just experiment any bass line and just play it and slap, just and just get used to the feel. And of course it's going to sound really overboard, but in an actual song you wouldn't play that many slaps. It's just to get as many repetitions as you can and get that muscle memory down. And just something to note relating to that point, mostly we use the slap on the 2nd and 4th beat of the bar, and then we'll use the bass drum, which I'll get to later, on the 1st and 3rd beats. So if you were using them all together, it might go bass, slap, bass, slap. So on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, you have the bass, slap, bass, slap. Right, so now what we're going to work towards is being able to get that slap, but also playing notes with the fingers at the same time. So if we take any chord, I'll do a G here, we're going to be slapping, but at the same time, we'll pluck the highest E string. So the first thing that we'll do is we're going to play the E string just so we know the sound we're looking for to try and create. So, okay, that's the sound we want to know, and if we get that sound, we've been successful. Now the next thing we're going to do is use our fingers to almost measure the distance that we need with our fingers and form that position that we need. So we'll place our hand on the guitar with our thumb on the low E string and our first finger, or you can use middle finger, but I'd stick with the first finger to start with because it's just easier. So thumb on low E string, first finger on high E string, and just remember that distance and almost lock your hands in that distance. Next, remembering the notes we want to play, we'll have our little shape that we need and just rotate the thumb so it slaps the guitar, and then at the same time it should like hit, almost knock it like that, as if you were playing marbles or something. You're just gonna then also knock the E string. Like that. And don't worry if you don't get it exactly, you might also pick up some of the other strings, but just focus on aiming at that high E string and getting it to ring out. Now, a good drill that you can use here to help incorporate this technique is what, I don't have a name for this unfortunately, but we're gonna slap the highest E string and then we'll move down and slap the B string and then the G and then the D and then the A, and we'll do each one twice you can do. So remember, pluck the string first so you know what it sounds like, and then set the distance with your fingers, rotate the wrist, and then we'll move down to the second string, and this will be a bit harder because now you have to aim in between strings and try and avoid those outside it. So get that second one twice and then move down to the third, and then the fourth, and then even the fifth. So obviously it's not perfect, but you're just trying to be able to aim and pluck roughly the right strings. So I'll try and demonstrate it in full just so you can follow along and get the full idea. Great, so now I'll just give you a third slapping drill to help you bridge that gap from the theory and the isolated skill to more of a riff/chord progression that you can use and incorporate into your playing in general. So what we're going to do is take a set of chords, and it really doesn't matter which ones you choose. For this example, I'll use A minor, F, C and E minor. But for the F chord, rather than doing the bar, you can just do it like this. It's almost like a C, but you just bring these two fingers down, one string each, and then have your thumb on the first fret. So yeah. So once we've got the chords down, I'll show you the pattern that we'll use in our fingers to help get this slap down. So now you know what it sounds like. I'll break it down string by string so you can follow along and play it yourself. So we'll start off by just plucking with our thumb the bass note of each chord. So for the A minor, this will be the 5th string on the A note. And then you can pluck the rest of the chord like that, or you can do a finger roll. If you have not seen it, then check there for my finger roll tutorial. So play the bass note and then the rest of the chord with the finger roll, or you could just pluck it like that. And then we'll follow that by a slap on the highest note of the chord, or just a note that you would like to sound. So for this example, it's the B string, but you could do that for the E string if you wanted that sound. So bass, pluck, and then I'm going to slap, roughly aiming for the B string, but any of the top 3 strings is just fine. So then once you've done that slap, we'll again play the highest note. So and that's essentially it. So you can repeat it twice for each chord. And then go on to the next chord. So for the F, exactly the same, just instead we'll use the 6th string as the bass rather than the 5th. So, and then the C, back on the 5th string for the bass. And then the E, so we're back again on the 6th string. And really, once you can get that down, that's your gateway into incorporating it into your own playing. And then once you've built that muscle memory, you can do it easily. You'll be able to add melodies to it like this. And the way you add the melodies is you're keeping the bass and the slap at the same place, but you're just altering the lengths of the notes in between. So rather than going, you could go. So it's instead of that one longer note, you could do 2 shorter notes, like that. So, and then again, instead of the single note after the slaps, so instead of, you could do 2 fast notes, so like that. And just experiment and play around and make it fun, and eventually you'll get it. Oh, that's rude, very rude, very rude, just very rude. So now getting into the second essential drill that all guitarists should know is the bass drum. And whilst it's not as versatile as the snare, you can't use it in as many songs, it's still a very good one to know for any more powerful songs that you want to really add emphasis to. And in order to play this bass drum, we're basically gonna thump our wrist against the body of the guitar, against the wood, like this patch here, so that it makes that deep sound. And again, this technique, like the slap, really comes from the wrist movement. But whereas before in the slap, it was a rotation against the wrist, in the bass drum, it's more of a flexion and extension, which allows us to hit the guitar. But also be careful here that you're not just simply moving your wrist, you also need to go down into the guitar like that. And I made this mistake when I was learning. I didn't actually move my arm, I was just kind of trying to reach down with my wrist, but there's a massive gap, so you do need to bring your arm down to make contact with the guitar. And another contrasting point to the slap, as mentioned previously, whilst the slap is usually for the 2nd and 4th beats of the bar, you would use the bass for the 1st and 3rd, so the odd beats of the bar. So once you've got this bass down and you can do it by itself consistently, we'll learn how to play a note whilst you do so. Now, you don't always have to play a note at the same time. I'd say there's 2 ways you can go about a bass drum. You could either play the bass note and then slap like that, or you could play the bass at the same time as the note, so. And you could even combo these together and have a double bass, so. And the way that you'll play the notes whilst you're doing the bass is you'll put your thumb underneath the string you want to play, and then when we go down to strike the guitar, we will pluck the string at the same time. It's almost the opposite to the slap, where we brought the thumb down with the wrist, and now we're bringing the thumb up with the wrist, almost, if that makes sense. So it's a pluck up rather than a slap down. So now I'll show you how you can develop that drill that we had for the slap, but add a bass to make it a bit more complex. So in this case, I'll only use 2 chords, the A minor and the E major, just to help keep it a bit simpler. But so I'll remind you of the slap pattern that we had. Okay, and then so now what we're going to do, rather than simply playing the first note, we will add that bass to the note. And then do those notes the same as we did before. So pluck, and then a middle note, and then a slap, and then the higher string. So bass, pluck the middle, slap the higher, pluck the higher. And then just repeat that again. So bass, pluck, slap, higher, and then go on to the E major. So same thing, bass, so there you go, there's that version of the drill, but you can go even further and incorporate a second bass drum. So like I mentioned previously, you can have the combo bass, where you pluck the string and then you do a single bass by itself. So we can now add that onto the second round of the bass slap medley, whatever. So we play it first, just how we did before. So bass, middle, but then on the second round we could go bass and then single bass by itself and then the slap. So we're basically just missing out that middle note that we had and replacing it with a beat. So put it all together really slowly, it will go and then the E major. And then if you put it all together and speed it up a little bit, it should sound like this. So there you go, a quick breakdown of the two main percussion techniques that I think you should definitely learn. That's the slap and the bass. And if you can, it does take time, but build that muscle memory up, give it practice, and eventually you'll be able to it comes intuitively and you don't have to practice it yourself. You just play it and you don't even realise. It's just like, oh, wow, cool. So now to look further at some more complicated skills, just to give you a quick introduction, there's a little, I don't know what it's called, but you're basically slapping your fingers like you did with the slap here, but with your fingers, like that. And that can sound quite cool. Like you can use it on the bass drop almost, or something, and then go into it. And then you can also, lots of people use the whole body. So rather than just the bass here, you can do it here, there, whatever, just experiment, who knows. And then another percussion technique that I can think of is you basically just strum the muted strings like in a rhythm. And you can look at an example, my earlier cover of Believer by Imagine Dragons uses this in the intro. So you go the bass, and then you just knock the guitar, and then you have a slap, and then the strum, and it would sound like this. So there you go, and you just put all these foundations and fundamentals down, and then overall it sounds like a pretty cool rhythm you've got going. So there you go, a quick overview of everything I know about percussion. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, then please do go hit that like button. It does make me very happy. And subscribe if you like this sort of content. Check out the other videos I've got, tutorials on bar chords. They'll sound good with percussion, especially that strumming, harmonics, finger rolls, like I mentioned earlier. If you don't know how to do a finger roll, go watch the video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.